business, notice number 11, motion on the Pacific Women's Parliamentary Partnerships Forum.
Thank you very much, Clerk, and I call the member for Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I move the motion relating to the Pacific Women's Parliamentary Partnership Forum in the terms in which it appears on the notice paper.
You can continue.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I rise today to move this motion, recognising the work of the Pacific Women's Parliamentary Partnerships Forum. In late April, I was privileged to attend the 3rd Annual Pacific Forum in Suva, Fiji, with many of my colleagues, including the member for Macquarie. Funded by the Australian Government, the forum brings together female parliamentarians from Australia and New Zealand, as well as from nations across the Pacific region. And what we try to do, Madam Deputy Speaker, is support women parliamentarians and build their capacity to address gender equality issues in parliaments in the region. It is clear that forums such as these remain relevant and necessary. Just 13.1% of positions in unicameral or lower houses of parliament are held by women in the Pacific region. This is the lowest of any region in the world. Exclude Australia and New Zealand and the figure drops to just 5.4%. In countries such as Vanuatu, Tonga and Tokelau, women are not represented at all in Parliament. In the case of the Federated States of Micronesia, it is one of the few countries in the world to have never elected a female Member of Parliament. As one participant astutely observed, it is difficult to be a truly representative democracy when so few representatives are women. The paucity of female representation in parliaments across the region means there is much more work to do in reducing barriers of entry for women to Parliament, as well as supporting those who have made it. There is still a perception in many countries that politics is primarily a man's profession, so women seeking to enter Parliament often face an entrenched male-dominated culture, both in seeking endorsement by a political party and in Parliament itself. They can also have difficulty raising money to support their campaigns. The forum heard the story of one woman representing a constituency of multiple islands having to physically row herself from island to island to visit constituents as she was unable to afford an outboard motor. On the occasions that women are actually elected to Parliament, there can often be few women members from whom to draw support and advice. To address this problem, the forum developed and tested a learning program that has been drafted by the Pacific Women's Parliamentary Partnerships and is aimed at newly elected parliamentarians. It introduces the concept of gender equality and ways in which it can be pursued within a parliamentary context. Constructive feedback was provided that will assist in the final rollout of the program to Pacific region parliaments next year. The major focus of the forum this year was on ending family violence. As we know, this is a global problem, but one that is endemic in large parts of our region. Figures shared at the forum indicated that globally, 35.6% of women have experienced some sort of physical violence, including sexual violence. However, for women in Tonga, the figure rises to an astounding 79%, almost 4 in every 5 women. 68% of women in Kiribati have experienced violence from an intimate partner. This is more than twice the global average of 30%. 1 in 4 women in Solomon Islands report that they have been abused during pregnancy. The figures are no less startling for girls. 30% of women in Vanuatu report being sexually abused before the age of 15. This pattern of abuse challenges already strained social services. It is estimated that in Papua New Guinea, domestic violence injuries make up 80 to 90% of injuries presented by women at health facilities. We know that such abuse leads to poorer employment prospects for women, and consequential family dysfunction leads to lower education attainment for children. Mr Deputy Speaker, this cycle of abuse must stop. It is heartening that most Pacific nations have finally begun the process of addressing family violence in the last few years by enacting legislation specifically addressing the issue. The sentiment is admirable. However, it must be backed up by real action. It is now up to law enforcement agencies and the legal system to treat this insidious problem with the seriousness it so clearly warrants. The forum agreed upon a set of agreed priorities to address family violence that are reasoned, practical and achievable. I was encouraged by the constructive and collegial attitude shown by all participants and their collective determination to do all that is necessary to end family violence. My colleagues, including the member for Macquarie and the member for Chisholm in the chamber today, have worked over the last 3 years to strengthen our relationship with these other countries, and it's so important that we continue to foster and support these women. On a happier note, I want to congratulate the women in Bougainville who had 4 women elected in the recent elections, including 1 woman in a seat against many male candidates, and I look forward to future years when they'll have more successes.
Thank you. Is there a